Well, they really need to sort this out. Let's begin. Now, of course, as we all know, the tax burden has reached the highest level for about 70 odd years or so. And it is often because quite a lot of the time people who work, and like me and you, for example, are having to pay more and more tax. But also because a lot of people who could work are choosing not to, it seems. Especially if this article's anything to go by, because it says a near record 2.7 million working age adults are too sick apparently to work, a think tank warns. Now, don't get me wrong before I say this. I don't want any comments saying, oh, how dare you pick on me or anything like that. I'm only talking about the people who are fit and healthy who could work but are choosing not to. I'm not talking about people who are off sick or can't work for a genuine reason, because I'm sure those people would love to otherwise. But anyway, the article says that Britain is facing the longest sustained rise in sickness-related inactivity since the 1990s, and apparently the Resolution Foundation says that economic inactivity due to long-term sickness has increased on an annual basis since 2019, the longest sustained rise since 1994 to 1998. And I don't know about you, but if the government cracked down on people who could work but choose not to, then I'm sure that would at least help with those figures a bit, wouldn't it? Not only that, but it'll also help to reduce the tax burden, but it will surely also mean that would free up the money they were getting as benefit, which obviously they wouldn't be entitled to if they were in work, to be used on something else. And now, I'm not talking about the government's or council's woke projects, I'm talking about worthwhile things or improvements the councils could make. Although admittedly, what they choose to spend it on would be up to them. I just hope they use their budgets a little bit better than they have been. But anyway, a new study though by the think tank finds that the increases are concentrated among the youngest and the oldest workers. And while the labour market is apparently returning to normal in terms of pay growth, vacancies and unemployment after a few years, the COVID-19 pandemic has left, it says, an alarming legacy of rising long-term sickness, the report warns. And it's not just that, in my opinion, it's all these people who are working from home. I mean, admittedly, companies in that case will more than likely save money on their electric and gas bills by not having people in the office, but at the end of the day, if anything, that's going to cause a massive pain in the bum for us customers, because I don't know about you, but I used to hate it when I had to ring a company up during a pandemic just to be waiting for ages and ages to be on hold, and then hear a load of crap go on in the background when I'm on the phone to them. And I'm not talking about the crap that was going on in my background, I'm talking about what was going on in the people who actually answered the phone. There used to be kids screaming and all sorts, and admittedly they couldn't help it then, but they certainly could do now. They just need to get their bums back to the office, in my opinion anyway. And surely, hopefully then, that will at least prove some sort of customer service, won't it? But it continues, and quite worryingly in my opinion, says that the number of working age adults economically inactive due to ill health rose from 2.1 million in July 2019 to a peak 2.8 million by October 2023. So what's that, about 700,000 more people off sick? This makes me wonder how many of them had work from home jobs back then. And I don't know, might be missing Netflix a bit whilst doing their work, eh? The rise, though, in long-term sickness means that the UK is the only G7 economy not to have returned to its pre-pandemic employment rate, according to that research. Which actually, if you think about it, is going to open the door wide open to all the Ramonas and the Vaginas blaming Brexit for everything, it seems, when obviously it's bound not to be Brexit's fault. It's the government's, in my opinion, for not either helping people back into work or cracking down a bit on people who could work but choose not to. The foundation, though, they said that the upward trend in long-term sickness started before the pandemic and has lasted for 54 months, so it's obviously quite a while. The longest period, though, of increasing economic inactivity due to ill health was for 55 months between 1994 and 1998. And unsurprisingly, the younger and older people together account for 9/10 of the rise in overall economic inactivity. So why is that then? Why would they be on those two areas? Well, I'm guessing the older ones, quite a lot of them probably approaching retirement, and their health might not be too great because of that. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but obviously as we get older, our immune system weakens, doesn't it? And the youngest ones, well, let's just say they might have a little trouble getting out to bed, in my opinion. Or maybe, just maybe, they might think a headache is an actual disease and therefore requires a lot of time off. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tar all youngsters with the same brush. A lot of them are good, dedicated workers, but unfortunately, there will always be a few people who unfortunately aren't and will do anything to have a day off. And of course, while they're being fed all this woke crap at school that there's several million genders instead of the 2 that there are actually, it just makes me wonder how long it will be before a male will actually say he's off because of period pain or some crap like that, which obviously us blokes don't get, do we? Labour, though, they of course jumped on the bandwagon, and Liz Kendall, the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary, said a healthy nation is critical to a healthy economy, but the Tories have completely failed on both. Well, to be honest, Liz, I don't think Labour done too much better when they were last in power, but anyway, she continues and saying 14 years of Tory economic failure has left millions of people locked out of work due to long-term sickness at a terrible cost to business and to taxpayers facing spiral benefits bill. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Labour, let's just say, were a lot more lenient to people who could work to choose not to, although admittedly, I could be wrong. So what the government said about this then? Well, the Department for Work and Pension spokesperson, they always say a spokesperson, never wanted to put a name to the actual thing, it seems, doesn't it? They say, our plan for the economy is working! Way! It doesn't seem to be at the moment, does it? Inflation is down to 3.4%, employment is up, and the number of people on payrolls is at a record high, and inactivity is falling. We've reduced the number of worklessness households by 1 million since 2010. They also say our £2.5 billion back to work plan will help break down barriers to work for over 1 million more people, and our recent budget measures are estimated to boost the labour force by an extra 300,000 workers. Well, let's just wait and see about that, shall we? Especially, of course, you've got your 2024 general election happening, haven't you? Which I'm guessing you'd like it to work a little bit more quickly than, let's face it, what it is already. And not forgetting, of course, you've got a certain boat problem going on, whereby surely, if anything, you really need to stop using the border force as taxis, in my opinion, and actually use them to turn the boats around. And just then, maybe, just maybe, you might stand a little bit of a chance, eh?